Well. Hello. Welcome all and welcome Property Noodlers. This is the Wholesale Real Estate Investing by SAHA number 212 on this 15th day of January in 2016. Another Freedom Friday Hawaiian Shirt Day. Yeehaw. One of the best days of the session. I was going to say of the universe, but they're all awesome days in the universe. So I'm Paul Romero, as you know, and I'm here hanging out from Phoenix, Arizona, here in my living room because it's Freedom Friday, and just because it's every day is Freedom Friday for us because we have freedom in this business, and so we don't have to be to work at 9 a.m. So I can sit here and do a half-hour hangout in my living room and wait till everybody else fights the traffic to get to work, and then I can go to work if I want to, or I can stay home and work if I want to, or I can go out and look at some houses if I can do whatever the heck I want. Well, to a certain extent, there's certain things that got to get done in this business, but get where I'm coming from there. So, where are you hanging out from? Who are you? Hey, who are you? Where are you hanging? Type it in. Let us know. We like to know who's watching this stuff and who's hanging with us and who's coming here to get some very, very awesome, fun information. So, John, who just left the screen, is with us today, so no problem there. And I know he's hanging out right down the road from me, actually, not far from me here in Phoenix, Arizona. So how's it going today, John?
It's going amazing as usual because it's Freedom Friday, and you know what? I'm in the same boat as you, Paul, as the rest of the world's out there fighting traffic, taking an hour. Oh, geez. Taking an hour to go somewhere that should take 20 minutes because they're dealing with bumper-to-bumper traffic out there on the highways. Not the life for me, not the life for you, not the life for anybody who would watch this hangout and gain benefit from it. The awesome thing about doing what we do in real estate is that we're on our own schedule. So I never had certain directions in town at until after 9 o'clock. And it works out perfectly that we wrap these up at 9, and then I can do what I want for the rest of the day. But I will say one thing, Paul, this is as hard as we work. This is work for Paul and I, hanging out, talking about this stuff. I mean, we're very passionate about wholesale real estate, passionate about personal development, and passionate about creating multiple streams of passive income and promoting those ideas and promoting those vehicles and systems to people. And that's why we do these hangouts. And so I consider this a job that not a job, but this is my work, and this is work that I'm passionate about. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm doing great today, Paul. So thank you for asking.
Oh, man. Oh, shoot. This work is so hard. I think I just threw my back out.
You know what, Paul? Why don't you go turn the clock back 3 years and pick the shovel back up and then tell me your back's hurting you?
Yeah, exactly. I got rid of that thing, and so glad that I did. Which leads us to exactly, why I titled this show today. What do you mean one of the greatest money-making times in history? Heck, I'm making pretty much exactly what I was 10 years ago. Heck, maybe even 15. Right? That's where how many people on this planet, in this country, in this world are at today, right now. Would ask that if I told you that this is one of the greatest money-making times in history, would respond with that kind of a response.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're asking me. Oh, I apologize. I was putting in my little taglines though, but you know what? 98, I'm going to go with the Napoleon Hill statistic. With the gosh, I can't think of his name, the strangest secret guy, Earl Nightingale. 95 to 98% would be the answer to that question. About 95 to 98% of the people out there would be like, what do you mean? Food's more expensive, but we are saving at the pumps, but I'm still making the same amount I made 10, 15 years ago. So what opportunities are there for me? There's no good jobs anymore. Paul can elaborate.
That's right. No good jobs anymore. There are no good jobs anymore. You know why? Because what we've had and what things have been are no longer. Does that make sense? Because industrial age, all of the sort of manufacturing jobs, and then the big corporate jobs, the corporate jobs were nothing more than, I mean, well, some were, I guess, some were related around money, but that was sort of a manufacturing of money. We've been manufacturing money for quite some time now too, quite honestly. So corporate jobs even are just like the management of the manufacturing jobs, all these big corporations. Somewhere down the line, these corporations have to be producing something, right? They have to be manufacturing something. So all of this is based around manufacturing of something, about creating a product. But the world's changing, and product creation is moving out to third world countries where, or not, maybe not third world countries, but other countries where manufacturing, number one, is cheaper, but number two also is sort of a revolution for that country. That's old tired stuff here in America. We've been there, done that. We need something new now. We're now transferring into a new era, the information era, the big data era, whatever you want to call it. But without manufacturing jobs, what does that leave? What does that leave for jobs? Service jobs. No longer are you making something for people. From here moving forward, you're going to be doing something for people. Okay, you're going to be cutting their hair and making their beds and serving them food, especially serving them food. My God, how many food places have been built in the last 5 years? Look around,
How many were built in the last 5 minutes?
And what's being built now? What do you look around now? I mean, food places are still being built. Apartment buildings are being built. That's an interesting one. Where's the houses? Who's building houses? Why isn't anybody building houses? Nobody's building houses. They're building apartment buildings. And gas stations. Gas stations are popping up all over the place right now. What's up with that? Something to think about. Why would people be building food places, gas stations, and apartment buildings? Food places, gas stations, and apartment buildings. Because nobody wants to own anything anymore. So the world's turning into renters. And everybody wants to move into closer into the city where things are walkable. So maybe they don't even have to own cars anymore. So they want to be, they can live in these apartment buildings. The world is becoming social because of social media. We don't have to leave our apartment. What do I need a big house for in the first place? Marriages are going to hell. They're lower. More divorces are higher than ever, and marriages are smaller than ever. So families are going by the wayside. And, there's still all those people out there that have to buy gas, and you got to eat. And so, and if you're only making so much money, you can buy gas, you can get to work if you need to, if you're not working from home, whatever, you can eat, and then all your money's gone. What else are you going to do? You don't need to do anything. Spend all your money on food and gas and an apartment. What else you got to do, right? I don't know. It's a different world, people.
It is a different world because, if anyone who's smart in business, major corporations, Apple, brilliant corporation with the iPad. It all started with what was that little device? The iPod. Kicked off a revolution of just turning the cell phone, quite frankly, into a mini tablet, then the tablet, right? Brilliant stuff. But what do you think it took to get to where that company is now? Is that those owners of those companies, CEOs, the management, forward thinkers. They're looking at building a product now that they're going to sell, or a service they can create now that's going to really take off and sell 5-10 years down the line. And why do you think that might be? Is because they're looking at the next generation of consumers. 10 years. This is my thought. You want to be rich? Look at the interests of the next generation that'll be coming into the workplace, into the next generation of people that are going to be beginning families, the next generation of people that are going to be not buying homes, but buying homes. look at that. If you want to be rich in 10 years, within 10-year time, and you could do it in 3 years or less. So I'm not saying it takes 10 years, but I'm saying you want to, that's what big business is looking at. That's what people are looking at, is the next generation and the demographics, excuse me, and the demographics of a population, an age group, and what's happening in those demographics. You ever see that they lump us, you got your babies, you've got your toddlers, then you got your adolescents, then you've got your teenagers, then you've got your 18 to 35, and then your 35 to 48s, and your 48 to 55s. And they look at these different demographics because each generation or each demographic has different wants and needs, because quite frankly, they program through television and other ways, program these next generations. So what I'm getting at with this whole concept of demographics, because this is a real estate hangout, and I just listened to this awesome speaker the other day, Harry Dent, talking about stock prices, housing, this and that. And he's like, it all comes back to all these things are predictable that happen in our economy for the most part. Can't always predict a terror attack that'll have a major effect on the stock market. For the most part, bubbles are created purposely to pop because of the transfer that happens during these things. There's signs that happen, and it's predictable. But more so than just the bubbles, the overall trends are predictable too, because they look at demographics. And as Paul said there about, okay, gas stations, food restaurants, and apartments, they're looking at demographics. Who are the future home buyers? And I kind of was being a little facetious, and I threw in a joke when I said you've got your people, you got your next generation who are not buying homes. The interest in buying homes, and as Paul said, is dwindling. The millennials, they call it, have a different mindset than just me, who was born in 78, and even those who were born in 88 and early 90s, the millennials, those that are born after 2000, and even I'd say that generation in the 90s that were born 95 have less desire to own a home, have a less of a desire to believe in personal property and want to, personal property rights, things like that, real property rights.
Well,
that is a proven.
How many young people just saw so many of their parents lose a house? Think about just that mental aspect right there, that mental picture in these kids' minds moving forward as they grow into adults, and they saw their parents lose a house to foreclosure after all that they had done. How does that affect the way that they're going to feel about buying houses in the future?
Exactly. It's they've been programmed. People are being programmed by what's going on around them on a daily basis, what they're seeing on the news or what they're hearing from a friend, what's happening to their parents financially, programs and shapes them. And it's really going to bring about a mentality of, you know what? I saw my parents lose their home. The banks are terrible. I don't want a loan. I don't want to own a home. I'm not going to go through what my parents through. It was terrible and traumatic. And I was 9-10 years old when we had to move into a shitty 1-bedroom apartment because my parents lost the house. Believe me when I tell you that it has a major effect. What happens in the reason you've got those, we were talking about a little earlier, but you've got politicians that will put on their platform an empty statement by trying to get votes with a statement like "Make America Great Again," because define that really, because the definition of making America great again, at least the way it's being portrayed here, is to turn back the clocks and reverse a powerfully forward moving trend into a different future, to a different present, to a different world than what America or the world economy or whatever, what it was just simply 8 years ago. So, I bring that up because that relates to what we're talking about here, is that you want to make money, you got to look at the trends. And how do you spot a trend is you want to get, and how do you ride a trend is you want to get in, at the beginning as, okay, the trends, there's a trend here. It's a proven trend. It's identified itself. The demographics show, the interest of the next generation show that that trend is going to continue moving forward. And I kind of think this trend too when it comes to financial making money, is it's going to be very it may not have the same desire for personal property, but I think there's an entrepreneurial like sort of a revolution that's taking place. And I really think, as Paul said, it's a service-based economy we have here in America. The Make America Great, by turning the clocks and bringing back manufacturing jobs so more people can have good jobs and manufacture things again. No way, Jose. It's service stuff like making your bed, like flipping your burger, serving you your food, but take it to the next level, showing you a financial plan, teaching people how to make money off real estate, providing people with education for personal development. These are services too. And entrepreneurs are going to take advantage of this trend of
creating a product that centralizes information for you, whole kinds of different things like that. But it's something that does something for somebody else.
And I'm going to say, we're in the information age. We're really in the service age, because good information is a service, because of what good information can lead someone to do if they take action on the information. So the information is a service, or a huge disservice too, if you get bad information. But that is the trend. And
but the interesting thing about what you just said there, if you get bad information, right, it could be bad. But here's the thing: nowadays, with the internet, and especially with the internet crawling so deep into your personal life, you can't afford to give bad information anymore. Because if you give bad information, you're exposed to the whole world and you're done. So that sort of fear of getting bad information, is something that's transitioning out as well too. Because, like you said, your reputation lies on what other people think about you, and your character, who you are, is what's going to cause people to think about you. And if you give bad information one time in this world today, the internet's going to expose that to the entire world, and there's no place for you to run.
Except when it comes to politics, for some funny reason. Because it seems like politicians can feed you bad info, break the law, and lie to you right in front of your face, yet you still love them. Like, wouldn't you say the whole message behind the Trump campaign of Make America Great again, by building a wall and bringing back manufacturing, I'd say that's pretty fucking bad information. Yet he has the support of I think it's very possible he could be the next president of the United States, which I think would be very interesting to see a businessman like that brought in. But it just seems like I just had to throw that in there. But it seems like the only people who can get away with spreading bad information are politicians and mainstream news outlets, because I guess they can just get.
It's an odd tangent here, and just a real quick thought on it. But realistically, like you said, that I agree 100% that the statement of bringing manufacturing back to America is a completely empty statement that everybody, I mean, not everybody obviously, but everybody should know is impossible, and it's not going to happen. But it is purely a statement to gain the vote of all those people in the mindset right now of still 10 years after this crash, still not waking up to the future and saying, I want everything to go back to the way it was. So with that demographic right there, I mean, that's a demographic right there, right? With that demographic right there, is that enough vote to put him into the presidency? That and build a wall across Mexico, those two demographics right there, large enough. Is that a big enough voting pool to propel him into the presidency? What do you think?
We shall see. I don't want to make any prediction. I'm always wrong. I'm always wrong, because I always hope that the guy I vote for gets in, and never seems to be the people with my ideas.
But that really is just like you said. I mean, do the younger people, the people of the future, the people that everything's being created for, do they even give a crap enough to go out there and vote? Are there enough of them that are voting that would think along the lines of, boy, I wish manufacturing jobs would come back so I can go work in a factory like my dad did? Or is there so many people and where's that demographic start? I mean, I would think probably maybe around, got to be older. I mean, like 40.
I gotta throw this in because Trump is brilliant. Make America Great is brilliant. Because the 18 to 25s and the millennials that we're talking about, capitalizing on, they're not voters either. Another trend, people. 18 to 25 are not voters. Now, I'm going to bring it back to 1992. Why did Bill Clinton win an election? Is because he went on MTV. He made himself cool. He was in his 40s. He banged chicks in the White House, and he captured the 18 to 25 because that was a demographic back then that were voting. That demographic isn't voting. Trump doesn't care about 18 to 25 because all he's worried about is the baby boomers. The dying demographic that in about over the next 8 years, that age group transitioning into retirement, transitioning out of their stock accounts and beginning to liquidate for retirement, that is the generation, not their fault, that is going to bring about the collapse of the American economy. I'm just going to flat out say that that's what that generation is. But that's the generation that's voting, and that's the ones that he's playing on the fear that these people know they're coming to retirement. My parents, my dad just retired. Everything's in 401k stocks, mutual funds. Very passionate about this. Very passionate about this. So I'm a little emotional when I think about it because my parents are at that age. Trump is the guy that they're voting for because they think by bringing back the manufacturing, it's somehow going to save them from the disaster they're facing.
Well, that's
who he's getting the votes.
And I mean, and how brilliant is that? Is because then that's all those people know. They grew up with that mentality, that thought process, that education was pumped into them from the day they were born until the day that they retired and got the gold watch. Or if they got stuck in the crash, before they were about to retire and get the gold watch, and it all blew up. Oh well, that just happens, kind of a thing. But and you're right. Those are the people that I guarantee you, 98% of them will be voting. Whereas you get down to, like I said, what's that age break? Maybe 40 years old, 45 years old, something like that. You get below that, and the numbers start switching around. That's the middle ground right there. I'd say probably like the 35 to 50 maybe might be that. Who knows how many are going to vote, and then you get down below 35, you get into 30 and below, and I mean, you say 18 to 25, I say probably 30 and under. People ain't voting.
Well, the thing is, I agree. That number you just threw, about 35 to, I'd say 55, 60. You got those middle of the ground people. You've got the ones that I'd say that is a 50-50 split down the middle, because you've got the ones that grew up with the baby boomer family that would, that wants to bring it back because of that fear of that retirement. So you've got half the people there, but then you've got the other ones that like, man, I just saw you guys, lose it in the end of 99. I saw you guys lose it again in freaking 07. Now you just retired and somehow you don't expect it to happen again. The other 50%, the little bit more, I guess, enlightened ones that are like, this whole system is bullshit that this generation is tied to. It wasn't bullshit when they signed on, but they signed on to something where the rug was literally swept up from underneath their feet, and they had a wool pulled over their eyes to tell them that, no, you didn't just slip and fall off the rug we pulled out from under your feet. You didn't just slip and fall. Keep working, because in 7 years, you're going to retire in 7 years, and your stocks are going to go back up and blah, 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 blah. It's actually, to me, sickening talking about bad information that the public buys into. Only this sort of thing in politics and that seem to be getting away with with that. But it's like that. It's the new generation. Like I said, is, you know, those are the people of tomorrow. So those are the ones bringing in and confirming the trends.
So how the hell does all
Are
this?
going the way of the buffalo.
So how in the hell does all this create the greatest money-making opportunity in history? Well, it's because of all this. Exactly, this transition. This is a transitional period where we're coming out of an industrial age. Industrial ages is manufacturing. It's creating products. It's doing all those things, and we're moving into this informational age, this data age, and this service age. And so this is a major transitional shift in our history, in our time of history. And when you look back at the last major transitional shift from the agricultural age into the industrial age, you're talking about a time period when people, you know, did everything for themselves by hand. I mean, it was a very slow time. It was pretty quiet outside too, because there weren't any machines running around. but but it was a very, very slow time. And then all of a sudden they started making these machineries that could now start doing, you know, a man wanted to build a house, you know, before he could build a house, he had to make a hammer. Okay. Now they got a machine that could pump out 50 hammers in a day. You know, so and the thing was, is it created opportunity because that machine was this big, long, lunky, bunky, you know, it wasn't like a machine built today. This thing was made out of wood and stuff. And so, I mean, it probably took like 10 people to run that machine so that they can make 50 hammers and make, you know, and produce 5 times what one man could do. You know, take one man all day to make a freaking hammer so he could start building his house. Now there's this machine. It just created 10 jobs because 10 people got to run this machine, but it can pump out 50 hammers in a day. So that's creating opportunity, and the same kinds of things are happening right now in this transition from the information to the data thing.
Can I just bring it a step further to the fact that you want to talk about, you know, now we've got 10 people to run this machine. How about the fact that they've 3D printed a 2,000 square foot house? Roofers, electricians, plumbers.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally 3D, I don't know how, you know, they 3D print a house. Think about what that means. You've just taken a whole construction crew and you brought it down to 3 people. a computer tech, a salesman, and a guy to service the printer.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you don't think things are changing? I mean, come on. You know, how many people can, you know, there's what is the, yeah, I guess there's some manufacturing right there. You're going to have a whole bunch of people manufacturing, you know, plastic roofs out of the 3D printer. There's a manufacturing job, I guess.
But it ain't going to be here in America, I can tell you that.
But again, but like you said, what kind of manufacturing job does that create? That creates one guy who can run 10 machines. Instead of 10 guys running one machine, it's one guy running 10 machines. So that the manufacturing job isn't all that great, isn't all that big of an opportunity. You know, we can bring manufacturing back to America, but it ain't going to create no damn jobs.
Yeah, no, this is good stuff to talk about and consider. And like, why are we bringing this up on a real estate hangout? Hey, you know what? Because real estate is a way to make big chunks of cash. Quite honestly, let's get into that. It's a great way to make, you know, big chunks of cash flipping properties in a relatively quick, short of time. But what that's going to do is give you back hours, and it's going to get you out of a job. You know, it's in wholesaling, when you know what you're doing, it's actually simple, and I'm not going to say easy because it does take some work. You're flipping, it's earned income, it's work.
And some learning.
It's learning. Is simple is you can make, you know, very easily make $5,000 a month, putting in half the time you're putting in at a 40-hour-a-week job and having a hell of a lot more fun and freedom and doing it.
And here's another thing. With this transitional age, what is transferring? Wealth. This is a huge wealth transfer. Where is all the wealth in the world today? It's in the baby boomers' pockets pretty much, because those are the people that went through the industrial age, built all that stuff up, right? And what's happening to them now? That wealth is being sucked away from them. And you know what? As things change, as the next bubble crash, what's going to happen? The value of the dollar gets even smaller. You're able to buy less and less goods. What's going to happen if the price of gas goes back up to $6 a gallon, right? How much less food and how much less things are going to be bought? How much harder is it going to be to pay your credit card bill? How much harder is it going to be to pay your mortgage payment? How many more houses are going to start getting lost? Losing a house is part of sucking away that wealth. That's why real estate now, learning about wholesale real estate, especially all of those things coming down the line, more and more people. You thought that people lost a lot in the 2008 crash. More and more people. It's not going to be like it did in the 8 crash where bam, boom, everybody's losing today. But it's just a continual, slow erosion of the existing old wealth and transferring it over into our pockets.
Say no more. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly how it was set up. And the fact is that I actually made this in my notes while we were talking earlier. I just wrote down 65 plus, because it's those people at those ages that are tied up in these with stocks. The greatest transfer of wealth is all the people right now that are in position to short stocks. And when that shit dives, because it's going to, because it always does. It always does. Every 8 years. They get out as people, they've shorted, so they've secured their position, and they got out at the top. And they got out think about how they got out at the top, okay? I got to throw this in here because I don't think most people understand how stocks work. It's the same thing as buying and flipping a house. Someone gives up equity and someone gains it. So with that being said, is in stocks, those companies that are those investors that are making the money in the market, they're doing that because someone else is losing money in the market. So when they sell off and they short at the top of the market, who's buying what they're dumping and shorting? Everyone with a 401k, everyone with an IRA that isn't self-directed, that's being managed by a mutual fund. That's who's buying it, and always at the top of the market, because hell, we're constantly adding to your portfolio because dollar cost averaging, that's a myth. There's some validity to it, but I read a great article recently. Just Google dollar cost averaging is a myth, and it'll blow your mind to be like, people who buy stocks that way based on dollar cost averaging are losing big time. The ones that are making it on is the ones that the institutions and the hedge funds that know that the shit crashes every 8 years. They love the run up, but they love the crash even more. They make way more money. People got to get this idea in your head, because where is this wealth transfer coming from? It's from all these 65 plus having to sell off everything, losing everything. It's transferring from them. They're the ones that have it. And they're the ones that vote. They're the ones that are going to retirement, which is why, like financial planning services.
I was just going to say, they're the ones paying for the Merrill Lynch commercials.
Financial services, again, financial services is why so many people get into that, to make money. And their main demographic they try to appeal to is the retirees.
You know what? It's 9:04. We've run over again because we just can't help ourselves. But with that, everybody, I just want to wish you all a great Freedom Friday. Think about this stuff over the weekend. Figure out how to, what it is that you can do to get on board with this transitional era that we're living in, and look forward instead of backwards. And with that, oh universe, I ask not for more riches, but for more wisdom with which to make better use of the riches given to me at birth, consisting of the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever end I might desire. Everybody have a great celebration here for the next 2 days, and we'll see you back here on New Op Day, where we're going to get back into relationships and negotiating.